Record. Okay. All right, folks. Um, Welcome to this vendor and team member check-in on the Aging Well Expo at the Women's Club of Roland Park. I want to thank you all, and we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. But like I said before, if you all have lots of questions and ideas, will go on as long as you all are comfortable. But what I tried to do is put together a little agenda and an overview that might prompt ideas and questions. And one of the reasons that I like to do pre-event discussions like this for events that I'm involved with is just to manage expectations. Is that and especially with this event, because this is the first time this event's ever gone on, and the first time that I've done something with the women's club. And there's a lot of unknowns here, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that and understands the variables, and we're all flexible. And I'm really excited to see what could develop after this event. So first off, the event's this Thursday. It's at the Women's Club, and this is my agenda that I've got for today. Is number one, first recognizing, whoops, okay, I got vendors that are keeping on coming in here. Okay, recognizing the featured vendors that we have. We'll go over the event agenda. We'll talk about the location. We'll talk about the venue. I mean, the way I look at location is where it's at and where we're going to park. The venue is the different space that we've got. We'll talk about arrival and breakdown for the vendors. We'll talk about some display ideas, give you some ideas on that. Then we'll talk about my plan for the afternoon panel presentation, which all the vendors will have an opportunity to play a role in. And then I'm going to go over kind of my vision for what you all will be talking about on the panel. And then after that, we'll just have an open discussion on any questions or anything like that. And I don't want to make this seem like we got to wait to the end for an open discussion. If at any point during the day, during our time here right now, if you got a question, just open up your mic and chime in. When I'm sharing the screen, it's hard for me to see if somebody has their hand raised or what have you. Just say, hey, excuse me, what have you. Okay, so first off, this is the select group of vendors that are going to be participating. And so first, I'd like to thank you all, and congrats on being part of the Founders Club for this inaugural event. And the fact that you're a vendor is a function of some of the dialogue that I had with the team at the Women's Club of Roland Park in terms of categories that we want to have represented and what have you. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about that here momentarily. The next thing that I want to go over is this is at least the published agenda that we have for the day. And like everything, things can change, okay? But we think that we're going to pretty much be able to hold true to this agenda, where from 10 to 1, basically people are arriving, they can register, check in, they can network with you, the vendors, they can network with each other, they can visit the vendors. And so we're hopeful that that's going to be an engaging opportunity for you all as the vendors and the members as well, and attendees. Then from 11 to 12, we have, and I can Sharamont, Dr. Delia Sharamont is our keynote speaker, and I had her on a podcast. She is absolutely amazing. We lucked out getting her as a keynote. She's got a brand new book that she wrote. She is just a very thoughtful and well-informed physician. So I think that's going to be a great discussion that's going to prompt a lot of ideas throughout the day. And then at around 12, that'll wrap up. We'll have lunch from 12 to 1, and then we'll begin moving to the panel presentation and discussion.
Let me see if I can get him set up. I just talked to him.
Okay. And did somebody have a question? I heard some voices. Okay. All right. Um, so next, just talking about the location. If you're not familiar with it, the Women's Club is located on 4500 Roland Avenue in the Roland Park area of Baltimore. Very historic club from the 1800s. Beautiful building. As you can kind of see, this is the blown up map right here. And around back, we'll talk about loading and unloading, but there's a few parking spots around back if you need it to unload. But then why I put this other photo here, you can see there's a pretty extensive street grid. And what they tell me is that like whenever I visited the club, there's definitely parking spots along Roland Avenue, but throughout the neighborhood we can park. We just if and so my hope for us as the vendors is we unload our stuff and then we go find a parking space that might not be right in front of the building because we'd like that to be easy access for members or guests for that day. Okay. Then these are some shots that I found of the venue itself. It's a beautiful club building with a downstairs and an upstairs. And you can see here that this downstairs has a beautiful auditorium that holds, probably close to 100 people, if not more than that. And you can see on the stage, there's a PowerPoint going there. They have excellent technology there. This is sort of the entrance to that space there. And then this lower shot, I know it's got some quilting here, but this is a shot of the upstairs where we'll have lunch. And based on the fact that we've got approximately 15 vendors represented, they have put out vendor tables on both levels. Okay, so that's that. Okay. All right. In general, your vendor display is going to be your standard display style table. And we can brainstorm more about this, but my sort of words of wisdom are pack for easy entry and exit. You could see where this woman, the stuff she has on her table, she could probably put that in like a large beach bag and be able to walk in and out. And it's not going to make that much of a difference whether you have your blockbuster display from whatever trade show you went to. This is just a decent professional representation, planned for about 80 to 120 attendees, but not everybody is going to take something, so you don't need to bring 500 pens. You might plan on bringing 40 to 60 pens or whatever giveaway that you got. Giveaways and door prizes are acceptable for this event, but don't kill yourself on this. It just, I would think about what you've got in your inventory and what you think might represent your organization well. If you've got one of those pop-up displays, just, like if you're looking at this woman's table, it should be something that could either sit on your table or behind your table instead of taking up real estate to the left and the right, because the real estate is going to be kind of valuable there on this day. And then one word of wisdom that I give to all vendors who attend events that I'm involved with is think about how you're going to follow up with the people that you meet there before you go to the event. I usually am exhausted after these events and I collect a bunch of names. And then a week later, I remember, holy cow, I need to follow up with these folks. But, you might have like an email already in your little outbox, and you just type in the email addresses that you collect, and it's like, hey, it was a pleasure meeting you at the Roland at the Women's Center event. If you've got any questions, feel free to call. So we can come back to this, just trying to give you a little bit of an overview. And let me get rid of my taskbar here at the bottom, because come on. Okay. Oh, come on. Hide. Okay. Whoops. It didn't hide. Okay. Well, this slide, which I am going to get out of my mode. So, as I going back to the agenda, after lunch, we're going to have this panel presentation, and here's our vision for this event. Like, our goal, I've been thinking about an analogy today for this event to sort of describe the experience that we're trying to make. Because one thing that I know is that every single company that is on our list, and the representatives there, that every single one of you is qualified and an engaging speaker and could talk for the entire hour on your topic. Okay. And my hope is that after this event, we're going to learn what the Women's Club membership is really interested in. And you all might be invited back to give a talk on, moving and downsizing, or daily money management, or estate planning, or what have you. But what the experience that we're trying to make with this event is to give the attendees this broad overview of anything and everything related to aging well, elder care, senior living, and planning. So the analogy that I would draw is, imagine that this was an event on vacations, okay? And think just of all the different resources with vacation, planning a vacation, who's going to watch your dog? There's cruises, there's beach vacations, there's ski vacations, there's all these things. And if you went to a vacation expo and somebody talked for a half hour on ski vacations, and you have no interest in skiing, that might not be the greatest experience. And so what our goal with this panel is to give people a taste of everything. And if we can get through the dialogue as quickly as possible, then the remainder is going to be Q&A with the attendees there in the room. And we're going to really find out what's on their mind and what they want us to dive a little bit deeper into. And so here's kind of the vision of the format that I'm going to share this slide deck with everybody when we're done. But what first I was going to do is convene everybody here and explain what our goal is. I'm going to go over just a brief overview on the value of living with purpose versus thinking that this is some kind of old age expo, because at the end of the day, all of you as providers are all about people living a purposeful life. And that's what I want people to be focused on, is that we can live a purposeful life no matter what our age and ability. And we've got a variety of services and options that can help us do that. And then I'm going to do just a little bit on the thought process of planning ahead versus responding to a crisis, and encourage people that, and let them know we're going to talk about both of those options. But if you can help you or your loved ones just think about these things in advance, you're going to potentially minimize a crisis for those people in your life. And then we're going to move into a discussion that's going to center around 3 buckets. And I know there's a million different ways you can do this, but this is what what I'm thinking is that first, we're going to talk about aging in place, because in general, everybody knows the AARP study, 80% of people responded that they would like to try to age in place if possible. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about making a move. And if aging in place is not an ideal solution, or if it's not safe anymore to live a purposeful life, then talking about making a move. And then we're going to talk about resources that can help you with all the different decisions involved with moving through the chapters of our life. And then, as you can see, I've got the vendors that are represented sort of organized under these three categories here. And so, in aging in place, we've got Gold Seal Services that helps with remodeling and looking at our environment. We've got the Wesley at Home, which is a unique continuing care at home program that's offered. And we've got Professional Healthcare Resources, which is a home care agency that can provide nurses and caregivers to take care of you if that's what you need. Now, there's a bunch of other things that I'll be throwing in terms of transportation, joining the villages, building your personal network, this, that, and the other. But we'll be weaving in our vendors into this dialogue. And then we're talking about making a move. And when we talk about making a move, first it's what about the memories and the stuff that we've got in our homes, and how do we deal with that? And so we've got Moyer Move Management and Caring Transitions that can have some dialogue on that. And then once we've figured out that we might want to investigate options outside our home, we've got a bunch of senior living residences that from a broad spectrum that are available: Brightview, Broadmead, Keswick, Roland Park, Springwell, and Symphony Manor. And I'll describe before they come up all how these are all broken down from active adult to independent living, assisted living, memory care, nursing, and life plan communities. And then lastly, but certainly not least, it's all the resources that can support us, that we don't need to walk these roads alone, from area agencies on aging to nonprofits to resources like that. But as with our vendors, we have Faretto Young Care Management and the Option Group, who are aging life care managers. We have Estate and Support Services, which is a daily money manager. We have the Newsoft Smith, which is an elder law estate planning attorney. And then we have Gilchrist Hospice, which is hospice and palliative care. And I would also, classify the move managers, the Moyer and the Caring Transition as resources, but I just felt like it's better to introduce them before we introduce the senior housing options to address the downsizing right out of the gate. Okay. Whew. Okay, I'm almost done here, y'all. Okay, so what my vision to present this in a manner that people are going to walk away with some great information. They're going to know who all the vendors are. They're going to have context of how the vendors play a role in this infrastructure. Is that when, for example, let's say when I'm talking about the housing and I go over the various options. Now I might say, all right, now I'd like to introduce Joe from Shady Acres Assisted Living. This is made up, okay? And Joe walks on the stage and Joe says, my name is Joe from Shady Acres Assisted Living. We offer assisted living that has secured memory care floor. Our average team member has 5 credentials and has been with us for 10 years. We're located right down the street from here on Main Street. You can set up a tour or free lunch, or if you might know somebody who's interested in joining our caregiver support group that meets every other Wednesday. So Joe is describing the who, what, when, where, and how about him and his organization. And then Joe is going to give a helpful tip. Okay. And here's the cool thing. I played around with this format at another event and it worked great. Is that every vendor that got up on stage shared a helpful tip. So the audience is sort of like, they're not getting bombarded by a commercial from everybody. They're also walking away with a helpful tip. So Joe might say something like, my helpful tip is that if your loved one is hesitant to tour an assisted living or memory care community, take the time to go out and tour the ones you think they might be interested on your own. Let the team know as much about your loved one as possible and engage them in a brainstorming on ways to make a future visit easier. I just came up with that off the top of my head. So if you can imagine this panel, and if we can get through all the things that I said, and I can get each of you up there to introduce yourself, now at the conclusion of this, we are able to have a wonderful open discussion, and we're all kind of like on the same page. And it may be at that point that, one of the audience members is sort of like, oh, gosh, could you talk a little bit more about that elder law thing? I'm a little bit unclear on that. When do I call an elder law attorney? And then we might take a deeper dive into that. And then it's sort of, where a panel member may, jump back up and it's like, hey, well, here's my 10-point checklist or something like that. So I'm going to shut up now. I hopefully I got through that as very quickly, and hopefully I'll get through things quickly on Thursday as well. So first off, my team, or the team at the women's club of Roland Park, I'd love for you all to jump in with any sort of details that are burning topics that we want to make sure the vendors know about.
Steve, no, go ahead, Susan.
No, I just want to introduce myself first. I'm Susan Jones. I'm the president of the Women's Club this year. But Ann Perry, who you see here, has really been in charge of this and working with Steve. So Ann is organizing a group of us to sort of help set up the night before and be available that day. So Ann, why don't you take it from here since you've been working so hard on this?
Thank you, Susan. I will be buying little flowers for each of us that are on this committee to be wearing. So if you have any questions, or if any of the attendees have questions, just tell them to look for a lady with a flower on her badge, and we'll try to answer them. I used to be one of you, and I was in elder care for like 20 years. So I know what you're going through. And I would recommend that you bring, as Steve suggested, a light exhibit, because we will be upstairs and downstairs. Some of you will be up and some of you will be down. Both areas will be areas where people can circulate and ask questions. And I think the main thing that I've been promoting is that this gives the attendees an opportunity to talk to you people face to face and ask their questions on a personal basis right in front of them. So that will be, I hope, a really good venue for everybody. And then in the lower level, as Steve described, there's the auditorium level where our keynote speaker, Dr. Garamonte, will be speaking, and then where the panel will be after lunch. And upstairs is where there are several tables, and people can sit there and relax and eat their lunch. And when you all eat your lunch, well, we'd appreciate it if you wouldn't band together, if you would just sit at different tables, so that'll give you the opportunity to reach out to all the visitors as well and talk one-to-one on people while you're eating lunch. But there'll be plenty of room for vendors on both floors. And my idea is that people will be able to circulate during lunch and talk to people that haven't come to lunch yet. Those of you that you don't all have to come at the same time, just kind of stagger in. And also, while the speakers are engaging downstairs, there will be people visitors upstairs going to tables that they specifically want to meet, and also with the vendors that are downstairs. So we hope it'll just be an easy, comfortable flow. There are steps. You have to go take your things up and down steps. So be aware of that, and don't bring heavy stuff. And parking, as Steve indicated, is a problem, because the main street is Roland Avenue, and then Cold Spring is a very busy street right off on the right of our building. So park within the community anywhere you can find, if you can, after you've offloaded your things, or before you leave.
And can I say something just about the map, since he has the map up there right now?
Whoops. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's see. So this, you see Cold Spring down at the bottom right. So if you follow that, where Steve's heading is arrow directional, Cold Spring intersects with 83. So when you come up Cold Spring, headed east, this, you can make a left onto Ridgewood. It looks like you're coming into oncoming traffic. So just be aware, it's kind of a odd left turn signal. But you can come there, and then Long Lane is actually the alley that's behind the Women's Club, and there are 2 parking spaces right there. So they're really loading and unloading spaces. So if you do that, then you can proceed Long Lane headed towards Kenwood to the north. Long Lane is 2 directions, so just be aware. I'm trying to encourage people just to come into Ridgewood and head north on Long Lane towards Kenwood to exit. But you might find people coming the other way and just have to scoot over. We're in a residential neighborhood, so we'll try to be there to help you load or unload. We do have an elevator, but it's an elevette. It's very small, so it's just big enough to put a cart to take upstairs. So if you do need that will be available too. So
and as I'm looking at one of the spreadsheets that I have access to, it looks like right now we've got, close to 90 attendees registered, and total with the vendors will be about 126. So should be a really well-attended event. And as we know, with all these things, there's going to be people that just show up. So should be really good. And one thing that I was told to me at one of these pre-event workshops that I went to many years ago, from a vendor's perspective to think about, a lot of times, we're used to going to these expos and buying 1,000 pens and expecting 1,000 people to come to our table. And the one person that was leading this has said, hey, let me tell you, wouldn't it be a good day if you met 3 people that were interested in your product or service? Like, wouldn't that be a great day? And everybody in the room raised their hand. That would be the best day of my life, that I ran into 3 people that were really interested in my service. And that's the context that I tell everybody, whether it's an event with 100 or 1,000 people, is that the Women's Club has an interest in this topic, and we're exploring this with them. And I think that there's going to be probably more than 3 people that are going to be interested in each of your what you're offering. But keep it in that context. I'd also say that you, as the vendors, this is a wonderful opportunity to network with other providers. So, make sure to introduce yourself to each other. And I'm happy to share the emails of each of you all with each other, so that you can continue some professional relationships with each other as a vendor.
Steve, I just want to add to, in addition to what Susan said, you don't have to offload in the back in the alley. You can do it from the front door as well, right on Roland Avenue when you're bringing in your things. So park wherever it works best for you. And we have a front door, and which are double doors, and then we have a side door right on the side road there, and then we have a back door. So any of those entrances will work.
And here's
for
another
offloading.
thing, and that I wanted to. How is the internet connection there in the club? Is it, like, you guys don't have a Wi-Fi connection, do you, or do you?
We do. We seem to be doing okay. We have had problems time to time in the neighborhood, but it seems to be operating pretty well.
Well, here's one of the things that I also wanted to address is that I know what it's like going to events like this. I mean, this is basically, from 10 to 2, is that, and your team members, have
3.
things that they could be doing, and this, that, and the other. Like, there's going to be times throughout the day where you're not going to be engaged, where you can take a break and get some work done. And you're not going to be necessarily like when Dr. Charamont, we'd love you to listen to her talk, but if that's a great opportunity for you to step outside, finish some phone calls so that you don't have a crazy day the next day, feel free to be prepared to sort of maximize your time and energy there. We don't want this to be a burden. We want this to be an opportunity. So I just wanted to bring that up. And to that point, one of the things that I was thinking about pre-discussion is, it's sort of like, okay, our doors open for this event at 10. hey, you know, everybody try to get there at, you know, 8:30. Well, that's an hour and a half before somebody's even going to be walking through the door. If if you want to get there early, that's great. And, you know, bring your laptop and get some work done or what have you. But I think all that I want to make sure that we do is that the vendors are hopefully, you know, set up or almost set up at 9:30 to 9:45. And I know a few of you might be driving a distance. So, you know, the whole idea of you being there an hour and a half early, I think is unrealistic to a certain extent, and it's not going to be that disruptive. As long as you pack your stuff so that you can, you know, grab your stuff, run in, throw your tablecloth on, and be good to go.
Okay, that's fine. We can, if anybody needs internet access, I'm sure we could patch them into that
Well,
too. If we want
I
to.
also sort of brought that up is a lot of us have hotspots and can work
Right.
off of our cell phone tower, you know, or whatever it is. Um,
We'll
okay.
be there at 8 o'clock, Steve.
Yeah, I'll be there at that time too. And I'm going to send out an email to all the vendors with my cell phone number. So if you're stuck in traffic or something happens, just shoot me a text. And it's like, hey, Steve, this is Joe from Shady Acres. I'm going to probably be walking in the door right at 10. You know, that's cool. Do any vendors have questions? And also vendors, feel free to just email me. Like if you've got an idea or you know, like feel free to email me, call me, what have you. But does anybody, Janet, I see your hands raised. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could just have a moment. Thanks. My name is Janet Lee Kala. That's a two-word first name. So I go by Janet Lee. And I'm one of the luncheon coordinators at the club. And this is just going to be about vendors ending up with a lunch. So basically, the vendors, if you are the prepaid vendor, you just need to come to the desk in the lobby, and I will give you a token. Depending, color will depend on what lunch you chose. If you have not paid yet, if you're the extra or additional lunch for your vendor, then I can collect payment at that time. And I would like this to happen between 9 and 10. Starting at 10, I think members will probably be coming in, and I think you'll end up possibly having to wait in line. So if you can, you know, get to our teller desk by 10 o'clock to get your tokens and pay up if that's appropriate. And then the lunches can be picked up upstairs between 11 and 12. We're really only going to have people handing out lunches between 11 and 12. So you'll, you know, hand in your token and get the right lunch. Does that make sense?
There's a program going on from 11 to 12.
Yeah, there is.
10, did I say 11 to 12? 9 to 10 is when
No,
lunches are picked up between 12 and 1. I'm so sorry.
yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
So sorry.
yes, that's better.
Okay.
That makes
and-
much more sense. I was really just testing to make sure people were listening.
No, that's good. Okay. And then y'all, I will send the spreadsheet that I sent to Janet that has all the vendors, the lunches that you've selected. And as you know, again, I know you've been getting a million things from us, but basically, you know, the way that they're paying for these lunches and it's expensive. And so the complimentary, it'll show the complimentary lunch, the one complimentary lunch you got. And then if you've got more than one person, then these are the ones that would be paid for. The other thing that if it's helpful to y'all, if you want me to do one of those PayPal invoices for the extra lunches, I could do that. And then I could pay the women's club if that's convenient. And then Janet will have on her list that it's already been paid for. So just send me an email after you get that. The goal is to make this not a math problem, to make this a wonderful experience for all of us. Okay.
Okay.
Do any vendors have questions or comments? Just shout out, open your mic and shout it out.
I have two questions, just to confirm. You're providing the table, correct? We're providing what goes on the table.
Yes.
You're providing the table.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Great.
Yes.
no tables with no tablecloth, correct, Anne?
Correct. You're
Okay.
bringing, the vendors are bringing their tablecloths.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, great. And then the other question, I realize every speaker has about 5 minutes, very fast.
Less than
Is
that.
it possible to show a picture or no?
Yeah, so what I did, yes. And in fact, what I've done is when you're on stage, your logo will be on the screen. However, if you'd like to replace that with a logo other than the one that's on each of your websites, and I'll send you the PowerPoint. I'm going to send a draft of the PowerPoint tomorrow morning. Just let me know and I'll swap that out. But again, like, hopefully you guys understand sort of the concept of what we're doing here. And, you know, we want to be fair and equitable to everyone. And we want to kind of like, again, going back to my analogy, this is like a vacation expo and there's lots of different things that we can do on vacation.
Just to help you all better understand, our club is a mix of women of, you know, ages between 50 and 90, I guess you'd say. And some of us don't think of ourselves as elderly, and others of us are facing some real serious problems. Some of us have spouses that are pretty sick, and they don't know where to. I was just talking to someone this morning who has a friend whose husband has severe Parkinson's and wants to know what she should do about it because it's affected him mentally. So that's a serious problem. Other people are thinking like, oh, I don't want to go to one of those places. I'm going to stay in my house forever, you know, that kind of thing. So we have a wide variety of potential candidates for each of you. And I hope you will enjoy that. But remember, none of us think we're old.
And yeah, and Ann, don't worry, like my sort of the way that I'm kind of presenting this, it's going to be, that's why I'm leading in with purpose. I'm trying to get the aging and elderly out of the vernacular and focus on how can we all live a purposeful life, no matter what life throws us.
Right. Sounds good.
Yeah,
And-
thank you all. I'm so glad we have so many vendors. That's really pretty impressive putting this all together, Steve. Thank you so much for that.
Well,
And thank you all.
like I say, thank us all at the end. And again, you know, whenever I do an event, I always share the words that my good friend Jim Lindsay, who married me and my wife, he looked at my wife and he said, "You want a perfect wedding, don't you?" And she said, "Oh yes, I've been dreaming of it my whole life." She looked at him, she's salivating. It's like this is her dream come true. And he goes, "Guess what? Your wedding is not going to be perfect. There's going to be lots of mistakes. There's going to be things that go wrong, but we'll adapt and we'll get through it. And 10 years after you're married, I guarantee you're going to be talking about the weird things that happened at the wedding, not that the cake was perfect or that, you know, all of this stuff." And so I always go into events that way. Is this like, we'll solve any problem, you know, there's going to be problems. Just be flexible with this. You're all a part of something that's brand new. And I really think this is going to be the first of many forums for this club related to elder care and longevity.
I also want to add my thanks to everybody. We're thrilled that you're going to participate. And I think it'll be a really purposeful day, to use Steve's language, to be a purposeful day for all of us.
Cool. All right, let's see. Well, that took 45 minutes. Yeah, there goes my idea that we would do this in 20 minutes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, ideas? And like I said, if you don't feel like shouting out right now, send me an email. I'll try to address anything and everything, honestly. But this is sort of like a lab experiment. After we're done, we can huddle and kind of figure out, oh man, next time we do this, here's what we got to do differently.
That's it. The only question I had real quick was community table. I heard there's going to be a.
Oh,
community
yeah.
table.
So here's one of the things that I suggested, like, for example, we've got the Baltimore Area Agency on Aging attending. There's probably going to be some other vendors that we didn't, we had to stop at this amount of tables. And so like, if you've got another professional that that's not represented here, feel free to let them know that this is going on and have them bring a handful of their brochures and they can put it on the community table. We'll have a community table where I'll have the source books and then any other organizations, or, perhaps you've got a colleague that, runs a transportation service and you've got some of their brochures, just bring them and we'll throw them out on that table. But again, remember, we're probably going to have 100-ish people. So probably 20 to 40 brochures of anything would be picked up and relevant. Okay. Well, I'll say last call then. No remaining questions. This is going to be great. Thanks so much, y'all. I'll send the recording link to this out to everybody, along with some follow-up in the PowerPoint in draft form. And I want to thank the Women's Club and all y'all for this, what should be a pretty fun event. Oh, wait a second. Let me look at chat. I missed chat. There's oh, thank you. Great tips. Okay. All right. Nothing like Steve, you're full of it. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. We'll see you all on Thursday if I don't talk to you before then. Thanks a lot. Have a
Thank
good
you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. See you then.
Bye, see you then.
Bye-bye.